as well, the interesting ratio to look at is the debt to GDP ratio. And unfortunately, in the US, because debt has been growing faster than income, the debt to GDP ratio has grown from probably in your time, probably about 60% to over 100% now. Again, during COVID 2020 and 2021, nobody, the government ran huge deficits in the several $1 trillion range. And nobody said anything because we're like, we have no choice, right? We don't want the economy to collapse. They were sending checks out to people left and right. I mean, nobody said, what's this going to do to the deficit? Because it was like, this is an emergency. We got to do something to keep the economy from collapsing. But what that ended up doing, and the subsequent, once you start spending it, it's kind of hard to bring it all the way back down to where it was before. That caused the debt to GDP ratio to rise very quickly especially in the last, since 2018, it's risen quite sharply in the U.S. And I mean, rightfully so, that should be a concern in the U.S. Although the PAT tax, the big, beautiful bill that got passed earlier this year, seemed to not want to really address it. They were more concerned to saying, we're going to solve the problem by trying to get Y to grow faster, right? The GDP, even though we're going to add to the debt relative to what was going to happen before by, some $2-3 trillion, whatever forecast you believe. Their view was, don't worry, the GDP is going to grow so much faster over the next 10 years that our debt to GDP ratio will actually go down. So the amount of debt you have is only a problem relative to the amount of income you have. And the US is among maybe the top 10 or 15 countries in the world when you look at debt to GDP. And if we want to bring it down, we either got to quit issuing new debt, which means run a balanced budget, which doesn't look like that's in the cards in the near future, or you have to figure out how to grow the economy faster. And this administration clearly is betting on the fact they can get the economy to grow faster, despite the fact that they're taking workers out of the country. As I said, they're betting big on AI. You see them doing lots of things to support AI. They're betting big on crypto. These sort of, again, technological improvements that are going to cause productivity to maybe grow faster than its historic 1% or so. Now, we'll see it. The future will tell who was right and who was wrong. But if GDP doesn't grow any faster than it's grown historically, the debt to GDP ratio in 10 years is going to be approaching the levels Greece had when it kind of became a big problem in the middle of last decade. Now, I'm not saying the U.S. is Greece. We're we're the reserve currency country. We have certain privileges, but all those things are going to start to be eroded because people are going to say, I don't want to hold any more U.S. dollar debt. So you're going to see the other countries of the world that have extra money, the ones with sovereign wealth funds, they're going to say, well, don't buy any more U.S. debt. Let's buy some German debt. Let's buy some Chinese debt. Let's buy some Indian debt, because those countries look like they're more, credit worthy. They're less likely to do something to default. And the U.S., I don't think, would default on its debt. You can always turn on the printing press and print dollar bills to pay for it, but you inflate it away, right? Yeah. So by inflating away debt is a form of default, and that's historically been the way it usually gets done. And so, again, the risk might be that U.S. inflation in the future will turn out to be, higher than it is now, simply because we have no choice.